back to another episode of the Miami Heat Roundtable. I'm your host, Amir Motameni, joined today by the entire crew, and we also have a special guest joining us today. So, really excited. We have Giancarlo Navas from the Miami Heat team, or the Miami Heat Beat podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I'm excited to be here, guys. Thank you for being so gracious of having me on your show, and I'm really excited. We got a lot to get into.
Yeah, thanks again, man. Really appreciate your time. So, last night, the Miami Heat came off a huge victory on the road in Sacramento. They beat the Sacramento Kings 121 to 110, and we literally had half of our team out. We had 8 guys out, and I was at the game yesterday, so I'd never been to Sacramento, so drove out there and got to witness that in person. I'm so happy that I went because at the beginning of the game, it was kind of back and forth in the first half. You know, we were down by 10 in the second quarter twice, but Kevin Love balled out. We'll get to everybody because there were so many good players last night. But, you know, we were up by 20 going into the fourth quarter, and the Heat almost blew that lead, you know, which they've done a ton in the past. So huge victory to win with all those players out. So super, super excited. We're the 6th seed now. So if the playoffs started today, we'd be out of the play-in. So I guess that's a lofty goal for the Miami Heat, which is semi-sad because I'm tired of being a 6, 7, 8 seed. But either way, right now we're in the 6th seed, only like a game away from the Sixers for the 5th seed, 2.5 from the Knicks for 4th seed. So huge, huge victory. So Giancarlo, let's just start off with you, man. What are your thoughts on that game? Because there's so many things that we could say, like Heat culture. We have enough. We had guts. Just all the cliches stood true last night.
I think a couple things kind of jumped out in terms of how things have been trending for them. Their half-court offense has been quite good as of late. Again, yesterday, 111 points per 100 possessions in the half court for Miami. That would be in the 81st percentile. That is huge for a team that we know has been anemic in the half court offense. A lot of that is they got a really hot shooting. But I think anytime you're missing Tyler and Jimmy, two of your arguably the 2 best scorers on your team, and Rozier, right? The 3 guys that you count on to make magic in the half court. When you have those guys out and you're getting to those kind of numbers without them, is just testament to hot shooting, a testament to how hard those guys play, how hard they move. Obviously, Eric Spoelstra is a sicko. These are his favorite games. So, you know, they did a lot of, you know, their usual bag of tricks and empty corner stuff. I like when they go back to handoffs and stuff like that. So that to me was the biggest thing. Offensive rebounding was huge last night as well. Again, against a team with Domantas Sabonis, who's, you know, a big body and a guy who one of the league leaders in rebounds. You know, you rebound 29% of available rebounds. That's, again, incredible for them. And I think their defense has been going on. Their defense has been trending in the right direction for a really long time. I have been very concerned about that element, guys. I think that they haven't had any bite defensively. I don't think they scare anybody defensively. And I think in the last month and change, they've really turned that around. I thought the zone yesterday was really, really effective. They held Sacramento Sacramento was really good in the half court as well. And they limited their transition opportunities, which I think is really huge, and not sacrificing their rebounding. So just you get that game, missing all those guys, doing all the things that I just said. Guys, I don't know. I'm feeling good. I think we're back.
Say it. We going to the finals, dog.
I think we're back. Man. I'm not there yet, but they're back. And listen, joke's on Adam Silver. Jimmy wasn't going to play both nights of the back-to-back anyway. So let's be real. So, you know, we get Jimmy back and Jovic, who I imagine will probably play a little bit considering they're hemorrhaging players right now. So we'll have to see. But I feel good, guys. I feel good.
But one question, though, why do you think that the Miami Heat always play better when there's a bunch of guys out? And why does the team look completely different when everyone's back?
So I think it's a couple things. And for sure in the playoffs, that's not the case. And I think that it's kind of a testament to why fit matters so much, right? So if Jimmy is going to be this 40% usage guy that's going to get to the rim whenever he wants and is going to hit step-back threes, obviously – you can miss guys and things will look fine because he's going to soak up that possession anyway. In the regular season, when he's a great player, but he's like an all NBA second team kind of guy in the regular season. In the playoffs, he becomes an MVP candidate. And I think that difference when he's not there, because he's not a volume shooter and because he's not the best spacer, and he's, I think, diminished as a cutter a little bit. Everybody has a little bit more space and a little bit more of a defined role. And that goes for Bam as well. When Bam misses time and they play Kevin, although I think their defense just tanks without Bam, and I think all the numbers would suggest so. So I don't want to say that they play better. I just think that they have a little bit more space and guys know their roles a little bit more when regular season Jimmy isn't there. And I think the same goes for Tyler. Although I think they could have really used another ball handler last night. It was really funny how, to combat the press, Eric Spoelstra reaches into the bench and pulls out Duncan Robinson as the ball handler. It's like, Duncan, we need someone to pass out of this press. You are the last hope, which is absolutely hysterical. So, guys, I think that's what it comes down to. I just think that guys know their role. There's a little bit more space. And I think the dirty little secret is the 2020 offense is the best offense for this team. And they go back to that when they miss guys, because they're like, we don't got guys who can dribble right now, which is what they had in 2020. We're just going to run guy off a pin down, off a DHO. We're going to empty the corners. We're going to do all the nonsense that we don't typically run when we just do high pick and roll. So I think it's a little bit of both.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned the 2020 offense and you mentioned the thing with the rotation, Giancarlo's. Sorry, man. Ernest with Miami Heat Talk. Thanks so much for coming on, brother. I got a really nice question for you. I like to ask different people. In my channel, we like to have like this debate going back and forth about the rotation. So I want to hear from you, my guy. Since you mentioned in the 2020 offense, I don't know if you're going to know where I'm going to go with this. This offense moving forward, going into the second half of the season and into the playoffs. We know there's a lot of offensive firepower, possibly with Jimmy, Bam, maybe possibly starting Jovic, Rozier, Herro. I don't think that's the optimal lineup. Do you think Tyler Herro's best position on this team is starting with those guys or coming off the bench, similar to 2020 and 2022 when he was Sixth Man of the Year? Want to hear your thoughts on that.
So I'm pretty public in thinking that Duncan Robinson should start. If we look at the lineup data, so if you have Jimmy plus Bam, no Herro, they're +5 per 100 possessions, 117 offensive rating, 112 defensive rating, in about 250 minutes. When Tyler is with those guys, they're still plus, but they're plus less. In 400 minutes, they're +3. Now, if you replace Tyler with Duncan, with your other two best players, those three guys are +6 in 200 minutes, 120, almost 121 offensive rating, 114 defensive rating. Without Duncan, those guys are only +3. So about the Herro numbers. Duncan makes things work a little better. And in my opinion, they need a guy who is not going to soak up the amount of pick and roll possessions that a guy like Tyler Herro will. And I know that Tyler's a more talented player than Duncan Robinson, and he's probably a better player than Duncan Robinson. I just think Duncan Robinson does more things for this offense as a fourth guy, because now you have Rozier as well. And I don't think there's enough data to really extrapolate anything meaningful from Rozier lineup data with the starters yet. But I think in a world, you want Rozier to kind of take more of that Tyler role. And then you can have, I think you need one of them. Ideally, you want one of them off the bench, and you want Duncan starting. Herro without the other two guys, they're plus. So when Herro's on the floor and Bam and Jimmy aren't, they're +3, plus 2.5 in about 220 minutes, which to me, when those guys sit, if you're winning those minutes, that's huge. So listen, the data is the data, and I've felt this way for a long time. I do think Tyler has earned a starting role for his play, and I think that a lot of people kill him and be like, Tyler, you got to be less selfish. You got to come out. I don't think it's that simple. I talked about this yesterday with some friends, and Gilbert Arenas has that pod, and he like posts like little clips on Instagram, whatever. He was talking about like people think that Ginobili's better than me, and like that dude came off the bench and this and that. And I think that like for players, like he's making fun of Manu for coming off the bench in a way. And I think that players, that matters to them. Like they're like, there's a certain status with starting and not starting, and to check that ego as a young player, I don't think it's like super fair to ask of Tyler, who, is still very young. So I would like them to start Duncan over Tyler, but I understand why the organization might feel a little scared to do that, even if that's what they know has to be done.
So what's going on, man?
What's up, man?
Listen, let's just give a big congratulations to the Miami Heat real quick. We're on a 4-game win streak, man. You know what I'm saying? We're on a 4-game win streak right now. We're having a great month. We're 8-2 in the last 10 games, and we're 7-2 in the month of February, right? And what I seen from last night's game, I loved it, man. I loved it, right? And am I surprised that we won the game? No, I'm not surprised. If you're a diehard Heat fan, you know when we don't have our players, we come out. It don't matter who's on the floor. It doesn't matter who's playing, who's in and out. Spo's the type of coach too. Whoever's out there, we gonna figure this stuff out and we gonna win, right? And everybody played their role. And I just also want to give a shout out to DeLon, right? He played perfect that game. He knocked down the open shots that he needed to knock down. He played solid defense, playmaking a little bit, added some rebounds. That was perfect. Just think about it, guys. We added Terry Rozier and DeLon Wright to replace Kyle Lowry. That's our new point guard rotation. That is perfect, right? And what I do think this team definitely has been way closer, and I'm glad that we got into that little scuffle with the Pelicans because I love it because I play basketball. And when when you have a little scuffle with a player, and I had plenty of scuffles with players, and your team has your back, you feel that connection now, like you feel that love, like yo, I got a whole team riding behind me. And now we're heading into the most important part of the season, and Jimmy got suspended. They're trolling the whole media. Jimmy's, pretty much with Jovic watching the game. I loved all that. So team chemistry went up damn near 40 because there was a time where we talked about on these shows, the bench, they was just staring. It was just looked like they weren't really too interested, and now it's shifted, right? Jimmy's being Jimmy. We all know this, right? Martell says it all the time. He load manages during games in the first half of the season. When he needs to turn up, he's going to turn up and do his thing. Now, I want to ask you a question real quick because I don't know if it's a question, but kind of a statement. Let me know what you think about this. When you watch that Sacramento Kings game, and I've been watching Malik Monk for a while, and when Malik Monk comes off that Sacramento Kings bench, it's instant scoring. Like he brings so much. He's so quick. He can dunk. He can do everything, right? And so when we keep talking about insert Duncan in the starting lineup, this and that, I think literally that can be Tyler playing that Malik Monk role. Still getting 25, 30 plus minutes in the playoffs. I really think he can play that. I'm not comparing them two of who's better. I don't really care. But I think Tyler perfect is for the 6 minutes and stuff like that. And, you kind of brought it up in the sense of like the organization, the team doesn't want to do that to Tyler. But isn't it at the end of the day that we're trying to win a championship? So why do we care about people's feelings? This is a business. Like, why does that matter? I get it. He's on a contract. If he wants out, I doubt he would do that. So, like, why do we care about their failings in a sense? Like, why does that matter? If our goal is to win and Duncan makes more sense, put him in the starting lineup. Like, why is it with Tyler we got to kind of baby him in a sense? And I'm not, listen, if you probably don't know, I'm not probably the biggest Tyler fan. I think he's great, but it doesn't make sense of him being in the starting lineup at all. What is it?
I'm with you. I feel
yeah. So I don't maybe bad wording with babying, but like why? Who cares? Go to the bench, play your role. You already got your contract, And you brought up a point of like the coming off the bench and stuff like that. Trust me, I'm a Russell Westbrook fan, so I dealt with this of him being in the starting lineup. He wanted to come off the bench, so I understand it. But I feel like there's a point in time where Jimmy's era is coming to an end, and we need to win soon, like sooner than So that's my thing. Like, why does that matter though? That's my only thing with it. It's like, who cares about his feelings? Just win. That's all you should care about as a team.
I think you don't want to lose a guy that like mentally, because guys are going to respond differently. Like, I think everybody takes things a certain way, and I think when you're, and I've heard this several times from different people in the league, coaches and a GM's job. Like Pat Riley doesn't do the day-to-day like deals and calling. That's Andy. Pat deals with agents now, right? That's like Pat's like guys calls like my guy's not playing enough, and you got to placate all these people, and you have a delicate balance between the personality of a guy, keeping agents happy, making sure that everybody feels that they're a part of something, and the guys that need to feel a little bit more involved or a little bit special feel that way, because if you ever manage people, sometimes you gotta, I don't like to use the word babying either. Sometimes you gotta nudge people the right way so that you get the most out of them. And sometimes, like, there are some people that I work with that have worked for me that I'm like, I know that I cannot ask you to make the sacrifice because I'm not going to get the level of production from you with this sacrifice. So I need to work around that. And that's not, I don't want to say this to besmirch Tyler or anybody, because again, I think he's a young player, and I'm sure in his mind he thinks, no, we're better when I start, right? Like, I'm sure that he thinks that, and he's like, I'm better than those guys on the bench. We are at our best when I'm playing next to Jimmy and Bam and whoever else is out there. So I don't think he views it like, I think if you told him like point blank, like, hey, if you do this, we will win a title, I think he'd do it. But I don't think that he thinks that way. And I don't think that competitors at the highest level think that way. And maybe Spo thinks that way, but now you have to sell that to somebody who doesn't believe that. And so I think it goes beyond like protecting a guy's feelings. I think it's like managing how people view their play, the league, all that stuff. I don't envy that job at all. I mean, listen, Spo had to start Hassan over Bam for years. Like, and even if some of us knew what the right thing to do was, you can't bench Hassan, you lose Hassan, right? And then you're stuck with that money with an unhappy guy that you're going to get diminished value from if you try to move him. It's a complicated like line, and I get that winning a title should trump all, but I think that factors into the calculus.
That's fair.
It does. I agree. Like, his ego, like, he's earned it. Like, he's earned it to a certain degree. He's paid his dues coming off.
Bro, he's a good player. Like, I agree with what
Totally.
you guys are saying, but that's,
And I'll say this, you're right. He's a great player, and what he does is amazing. But the point that, and I feel like a lot of us agree with, you take Tyler Herro and you put him in Utah, he gets to run the show. It's his team. He's the focal point in the offense. You give Miami a Lauri Markkanen in a deal like that, you get somebody to plug in that starting power forward. I think it's best for both parties. It's just for this specific team, what we need from him, best thing, Manu Ginobili role, come off the bench. It's just like you said, there's no all-stars or all NBA players that come off the bench in today's NBA. I can't think of one. So,
and Tyler's not either. Like you said, like Lauri for Tyler, like Lauri's a better player than Tyler, right? Like there's this, that's not better for Utah, that's better for us. But like he's just a better player, and that's fine. Like Tyler doesn't have to be like, I think that people sometimes get caught up in like, okay, like all-star is this barometer for like, are you this caliber of player? When I don't know, guys, we kind of see how the all-star voting goes sometimes, and it's a little silly and guys get snubbed or whatever. Like Goran Dragic, probably the only all-star game that Gogi made was because like 3 other guys got hurt. He was like the 3rd reserve. If that doesn't happen, if one of those guys is healthy, he's never an all-star. And we don't look at Goran's career as like, oh, not an all-star. Jamal McGlure was an all-star. That doesn't tell me anything about Jamal McGlure. It shouldn't about Tyler. I'm sorry about the tangent, but yeah, I mean, I think they could win with him starting, and I think that they can manage the minutes. And Spo has already started to do that before kind of everybody got hurt before the break. He was kind of adjusting the minute rotation and taking Tyler out a little earlier, in which Tyler said, it's like, hey, I'm not a super big fan of that, but whatever coach thinks, I will do. Right. So I appreciate the candor from Tyler. And so, I mean, I think the organization is trying to kind of stagger the minutes. And again, I point to that number, man, +2.5 when he's on the floor without Jimmy and Bam. That's winning basketball. You're winning without your 2 best players, because Tyler is kind of buoying your offense as a ball handler, as a creator. And the Heat are shooting 40% from 3 in those minutes, which is crazy without your 2 best playmakers. Right. And presumably a lot of those minutes without Duncan Robinson as well. So I think he's a good player. He can help them win. And I think that it's just about finding the pockets of time and the way that they're going to manage the rotation.
Yeah. So I will say something too, which actually is insane. We have one of the best defense so far, I believe, this month. Mm-hmm. And our shooting's not the greatest, and we're still winning. I believe we're like 27th in shooting this month. In the month of February, which is, it's just insane. Like, you're damn near the worst, or damn near the worst. But the defense, that you could tell defense has improved. And I may remember other episodes we brought this up. I like me some high scoring offenses. And he was like, yeah, we need this defense. And honestly, defense is winning us our games and stuff like that. So I'm proud of this Miami Heat team for turning around,
Absolutely. I mean, the turn on defense has been, so in the Boston game, Miami started to switch more again. And I have been in Miami. So this season, they are playing more drop coverage as opposed to switch coverage, which has really been their MO since the Jay Crowder Iguodala trade. Prior to that, they had played a ton of drop. They had really not switched since the big three. And even then they were trapping more and they would just switch LeBron onto guys and sometimes Chris. But reality, that was like Spo's real first, like, okay, we're just doing 1 through 5, switch everything. And they did, and they figured it out with Iguodala, Crowder, all those guys. We know the story. This season, they started playing more drop. And I'm not a fan of the drop for a couple of reasons. I do think that their guys were getting hung up on screens. Tyler, Josh was really bad to start the year defensively. It was just not looking good. They were not really using Lowry as an on-ball guy, which I don't really think he was. I mean, he was really effective for them as a low man, but as an on-ball defender, he was just not that guy at the point of attack anymore at 37 years old. So Caleb was also in and out of the lineup. And then when Caleb came back, I think that he looked really like kind of slow and sluggish and didn't look there defensively. So their drop wasn't working. And against Boston, they go to play switch. The game that Boston scored a bajillion points. It was an absolute disaster. It was like nobody knew where to be. And they did it against New York, and it also looked really bad. Then they went back to playing more drop, and they've incorporating switching again, but it's really been, and I Cooper Moorhead and I talked about this. They've just played more drop since that point, since they did before, and they have figured some stuff out. And goes to show you the versatility of the coaching staff to be like, okay, this thing we did for 4 years, new plan. And they completely changed the scheme. They completely changed the way they help. And they, most importantly, they are trying to change the way that they control dribble penetration. If you look at their stats, their shot profile is almost the same. They are allowing the same at the rim and the same from mid-range and all that stuff that they did before with a totally different scheme. And I think Spoelstra kind of saw the writing on the wall with all the guys that have gone out, and he needed to kind of, okay, Bam, you're going to have to do some different stuff to keep us afloat. So I think their drop took a little bit of time to figure stuff out. Guys get healthy. I think Jimmy was also, like, I got to be honest, pretty bad defensively up until about January. I think that Jimmy's help at the nail was like non-existent. Miami needs to be physical with their help. They like to send a lot of bodies. They like to swarm, and that help has to come early and strong because they don't have the size. I mean, their back end defense, when they were like really good in 22, that low man was Kyle Lowry rotating from the weak side. You know what I mean? Like, they're small, but it's effective because they have smart veterans with good hands who are physical, that are going to elbow you in the gut. They're going to do all that stuff to kind of make you be felt. And they weren't, Jimmy in particular wasn't doing that. And the rest of the guys, Josh is not a physical defender. Tyler's not, like, all these guys are just not physical. And now, you know, you have a lot of guys out the door, a lot of change, guys get older, all that stuff. I feel like it's been different. The one stat that stood out to me all year, and I've said this on all our pods and whoever I talk to, Miami for a time, I don't know if they still are, was the team that fouled the least in the league. And you might say that's really good. They played defense without fouling. To me, that said that you are not being physical, because Eric Spoelstra teams are always top 5 in fouls every single year. They always have a good defense because very Pat Riley way, they can't call all of them. And if you're not being felt like that, I don't think this team has enough size and defenders to make themselves felt. So I think that there has been a philosophical shift in the way that they approach defense. I think in the Phoenix game, Miami deployed a full court press, which was, to me, the first time that they actively were like, all right, guys, we need to do something about our defense. And they did something that obviously they don't play a press all the time. But to me, that was Eric Spoelstra trying to be like, we need to have intentionality every time down the floor. So you have a job. When that ball gets inbounded, you have to harass the ball handler. And it kind of got them into a little bit of a gear. And I think that that's kind of everything's kind of shifted from there. And they're a little bit more awake. So I totally agree with you. Defense has been really sharp as of late. That has been their bread and butter. They're not going to win a title on offense. It's going to be on defense. And I'm glad that they have figured it out in a new way that's different from what they've always done.
Yeah, the defensive rating, we've been talking about that for weeks. And the first few months of the season, to your point, like, Caleb was not healthy. Josh Richardson just not healthy, couldn't get through screens. Like, his defense has fallen. But it's picked up actually before he got hurt as well. So, like,
that's why I specified the beginning of the season.
Yeah. So, like, our perimeter defense, to your point, has been definitely improved. Point of attack, like we still have trouble with rim protection. Obviously, Bam Adebayo is the only person that could actually provide that, and he's not even that amazing at that. But it's great. We're 8th right now, and we've been climbing up slowly but surely. And so I agree with you. I think defense is going to definitely be our identity, and we do still live and die by the 3. Like I was watching at the game yesterday, I was like, we need Jaime, Daylon, like because Duncan couldn't shoot for shit, and like still was a plus 25, which is just utter insanity that, he built that skill set where, like, if you told me Duncan was going to get blitzed off that line and was that his 3-point shot was going to be taken away, that he still was going to get you like 11 assists, 5 rebounds, like playing well defensively as well. Like I would not have believed that. So huge improvement on the defensive end, which is great to see. Caleb though looked great against De'Aaron Fox in those first 3 quarters. Like he was fighting through screens, and I was surprised that he was up there guarding him above the break. I thought it would be like more so Daylon or someone else, but he did a great job, and I'm pumped. And we have another game tonight, so I just want to real quick transition into that. So we're recording right now a few hours before the Portland game. I know you guys are all on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. So
The Joe Cronin Bowl.
Yes. So the game package, guys, like I'm excited to see. Like I know Tyler's not going to be playing, obviously. He's part of that game package, but Jovic, I'm assuming he's going to get some minutes tonight. We could talk about rotations too, because now we have 12 players, I think, if I count that correctly. We had 7 guys last night, right? And then now you had Rozier's playing tonight, so there's news on that. He's going to be playing. Tyler's out, but we have Rozier, Tyler when he comes back, Jimmy. I mean Jovic. Who am I missing? There's a 5th guy that wasn't playing last night. Rozier, Tyler, Jimmy, Josh. So we have 5 guys that could be in the rotation, plus the 7 that played last night. So but more importantly, I'm excited to see the Dame package play against Portland tonight. So let's transition. Thoughts on that? I mean, we have to win this game. Like if we don't, we need to win. Every game's important. Obviously, we have 25 games left playing for playoff positioning, but we have to win this game, man. Like
this is Joe Cronin's Super Bowl. We need to stop their happiness at all costs. I need Jimmy to play this game like it's game 4 or 5 or whatever, the one where he's hunched over against the Lakers when he gave it all he had. I need that kind of performance tonight. I need Bam in game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics in the bubble kind of performance. I need Jaime to channel everything he has and have a career night. I'm going to need Duncan to give 9-10 threes. I need a Duncan triple-double. I need all hands on deck. I need Cole Swider to make them regret that they didn't ask for Cole Swider. I need everything tonight. I cannot, listen, we do a post-game show. I cannot show my face after if they lose. They need to win by a lot of points. They need to win by whatever Joe Cronin's age is. That's what I want the win margin to be.
I wish we would be so petty that we're like, all right, Jimmy, Bam, load management tonight. Let's let the freaking Dame package.
Oh my God, Spo, please. Spo, Eric, if you're listening, please.
That would be hilarious if we're like, we don't even need these guys. Let's just let the guys that you didn't want
DMP,
dominate.
Not worth it.
You know what's crazy about this Heat team is like I feel like we can beat anybody, but this is also a game we can lose. Like this team can do that, and it's
100%.
I hate Portland, hate GM, whatever. Let's just beat them by 100. Like
this is so Miami Heat. You'll go out, you'll be one of the best teams in the West. You'll be confident riding high, and then you'll lose to a bottom 500 team. We just and you see it happen with the Heat. Sometimes they take these low-level teams for granted. You can't. We did that a lot last season. We've kind of learned from our mistake this year. So just keep your foot down the throat, walk away with the dub. I know we got this, especially doing it at their home court.
And you know what the funny thing is? I don't think the players am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
I don't think the players give a shit. I think we give a shit. But I think the players, maybe Jaime and Tyler might, but I don't think Jimmy gives a shit. You know what I mean? Like, we hate Joe Cronin. Do they hate Joe Cronin? I don't know. But they got to do it for the fans, man. They gotta know. Chef Trilly, tell them something. I don't know. Let them know that this is bigger than them. Damn it.
Nah,
better not be trap game. That's all I'm saying. This better not be like the Memphis game, because that was unreal.
So I'm a huge Liverpool fan, the English Football Club. And last season, they beat Manchester United 7-0 in one of the most spectacular beatdowns I've ever seen in my life. they lost the next week to a mid-table club. And that's
so-
that's sports sometimes. And I can't handle that with this Heat team. Not with this game. Not with this mid-table team. You know what I mean? I need a beatdown, a thorough beatdown. I need those Blazer fans in the $1 ticket section. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Tickets for $1. I need those fans to regret spending that dollar.
That's funny. I this is my last thing I'll say for the video. I'm kind of looking ahead, and I'm looking at these standings and stuff like that. I think who eventually play in the playoffs is going to be the Bucks, the Knicks, or the 76ers. I'm sure we're all confident against them. It's either we get 6 or 4 or 5. We play one of those. What's the team you trying to avoid in the playoffs, like for the first round matchup at least?
Boston.
Listen, Ernest, you're making that face. I'm not saying avoid. I'm talking about there's matchups that you can win, but you don't want to go out there and play them in the first round because then you see what happens to Phoenix Suns back in the day where they won the series, but then it got bounced out in the second round because it was so tired. And I believe that was the Pelicans team, I think. So that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at these playoffs. I think we could beat everybody, but like I think we blow the Bucks. I think the Bucks are gone.
I think if you're Miami, you want Milwaukee to fall to 4. I just don't see that happening. I think you want the Bucks and the Celtics in the same bracket. And I think if you're Miami, you just want to just save Boston for the end because Philadelphia is in free fall. I believe they are 3-7 in their last 10. Yeah, and Embiid, I don't think there is a pulse on when he is coming back. New York is 4-6 in their last 10, and they are not healthy. There is radio silence on the Randall injury front, and I know Brunson and Hartenstein are missing tonight. I believe Mitchell Robinson's also missing time. I don't know. So they're all banged up. Miami's kind of coming to Indiana. You know, I mean, listen, the Heat are 1 game back from 5th, and they're 2.5 back from 4. So I think if you're the Heat, you obviously go for 4 and fuck it, we ball. You play Boston in round 2. If not,
hey, get the top dogs out, right? Get
if the top dogs 6, out. Listen, 6 is nice. You know, you play Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's not that bad. And then you play Milwaukee. I think you'd want to save them for the end. 4 or 6, if I'm saying so. I think ultimately the first round series is probably going to be either Miami, New York, or Miami, Indiana. I totally see Philadelphia falling into the plan. I just don't know how they survive. They just don't have enough without Embiid, and they are just an absolute free fall. So I think those are going to be the 2 teams. I don't see Orlando. I don't think Orlando got that in them to kind of climb up to be one of the 4 or the 5 seed. But I think it's that group of teams that's going to be that. And if I'm Miami, I'm not really trying to avoid any of those teams in the first round. People are afraid of New York. I have people on my podcast who are like, that Knicks team is scary. I was like,
I'm one of them. I'm not gonna lie. I'm one of them.
I'm not scared.
Yeah, but also 2 words: Julius Randle. Like,
bro, I just
you're not gonna win if he's your second best
playoff
player.
Julius.
They don't have enough. They don't got enough scoring, and I know that like Brunson's nice and all, but they don't got another guy to contribute on offense enough that makes me feel like they can do it. Miami
consistently though. Sorry to cut you off because didn't Bogdan have like a game a couple days ago? 7 for 7 from 3.
Is that like the guy that you want to like be the hub of your offense when a guy like when Brunson's not on the floor?
Like, no, I think they're. I don't even think Julius Randle's their second best. But I think it's OG. OG's hurt.
Yeah, but he's not an offensive player.
He's not, so, but
he is, but he's not like that level of offense.
Yeah, no, he impacts the game several different ways though, right?
I'm a big Anunoby fan. Yeah. To me, that was like listen, I don't fear nobody, but I've been saying this for a while, and I wrap it up here. The Knicks are not healthy. They're missing pretty much their whole rotation roster, and when they're healthy, I think they're a team to be messing with. And we're talking about like scratchy defense and that's what the Knicks be doing too. Tom Thibodeau, you ain't playing if you can't play defense. So, except for the one guy who did.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think we should end it there. We're at like 34 minutes. So Miami Heat going to play in a few hours. Again, we got to destroy Cronin, destroy the Portland Trail Blazers, get on that 5-game winning streak, move on up. We control our own destiny at this point. It sucks that we don't have a tiebreaker over like the Bucks or the Knicks, but we have like one of the easiest schedules. I don't even know what the number is. Top, like bottom 3, whatever, like the easiest schedule for the remainder of the season. So we have a lot of easy games that we should win. So hopefully we do move up in standings and get anywhere between the 4 and 6. Like, just we have to avoid the play-in at all costs at this point. So yeah, thanks for hopping on, Giancarlo Navas. That was awesome for having you. Thank you again. So you
Anytime,
guys
William.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, do you want to let everybody know where they can find you?
Listen, you can find me and many people smarter than me over at MIA Heat Beat on Twitter, and we stream every show after every game and our pods on off days on twitch.tv/Miami Heat Beat. You can also find us on YouTube where we upload all the VODs and check out all of our nonsense, our offerings. Listen, I love our team. They're wonderful, and they're some of the smartest people I've ever met. So if you like what I have, it said today, imagine the people that are even better than me. So check out what we do over there. And if you're listening, I'll see you tonight.
Awesome. And don't forget
no Cronin slander on deck.
No.
Cronin Bowl. Let's go.
All right. Have a good one, guys. Bye.